My name is Amanda, and I'm a friend of Jill's from high school. This year is my brother on piano, Daniel. This is my husband Tony on guitar. And we're here to tell you about my friendship with Jill. First of all, a little known fact is that it was actually Lois, Jill's mom, who predicted our friendship. Before we ever met, Lois used to pick Jill up from high school, and she'd say to Jill, "I always see this girl walking home, and she looks like such a nice girl. We should be friends with her." Now, I can only assume that Lois was captivated by my Bert and Ernie eyebrows and my Z Cavaricci jeans tucked into my puffy socks and Keds. And by the way, let me just say, as a middle school counselor, I don't advise this type of parenting, where you pick a stranger off the street and decide that she should be your child's new friend. However, in our case, it worked out nicely. For those of you who don't know, I got married a few years ago, and Jill was my maid of honor, and she sang beautifully at my wedding. I wasn't even going to attempt to do this, since I can't sing anywhere near as beautifully as Jill can. But then I remembered back at Limerick High School, Miss Sussman thought that I was worthy of being selected for jazz chorus. So I thought maybe I'll give it a shot. So I might sing just a little bit. Jill and I had our first encounter in 1992. Limerick High School was putting on Little Shop of Horrors, and I was in charge of props. One of the many props that we needed was a telephone. And this cute little curly-haired girl named Jill came up to me, and she said, "Hey Amanda, can I work with you on props? I have a phone." Close friends, and we discovered that we had a lot in common. While some cool kids were getting drunk and smoking the pot in high school, Jill and our friends would spend Saturday nights singing show tunes at each other's houses and watching the movie Fame. A favorite story of mine, Limerick High School people will appreciate this one. A favorite story of mine took place during one of our final full chorus rehearsals in high school with Miss Sussman. 150 of us teenagers were packed in like sardines on the risers doing our vocal warm-ups. No, 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 no. Stop! Yelled Miss Sussman. "Jill Spicer, why are you growing out your bangs? Your forehead is way too big for that." In 1994, the show at Limerick High School was Bye Bye Birdie. I had an ex-boyfriend named Michael Moore, who had remained a close friend of mine. During this time, Jill met Michael Moore, and she decided that she wanted to go out with Michael Moore. Now, upholding the code of friendship, she wanted to make sure that this was okay with me first. So she called me on the phone. "Hi, Mandy. Hi, Jilly. Who's this Mike guy? Is he the right guy? Like a Moore? Okay, sure. If you're okay with dating my ex, it's okay with me." When Jill and I were in high school, we used to look alike. People tell us we look alike now, but we really looked alike in the 90s. So much so that people either thought that we were twins or that we were the same person. It was actually Steve, Jill's dad, who discovered this fun fact. Do you remember that? In 1994, he took us to see a Ranger game, and on the train ride home, he was sitting across from us, and suddenly he became mesmerized. After some quiet thought, he exclaimed, "Jill, she has our eyes." After I graduated from high school, Jill was still there, and a couple of teachers actually went up to her and said, "Didn't you graduate already?" That was her. Anyway, now we're in college. I went off to Binghamton, Jill went off to Syracuse. Despite our distance, we still remain the closest of friends. During summers and vacations, we saw each other all the time, And now we discovered alcohol in the form of wine coolers. Which my parents accidentally discovered as well after some photographs surfaced. Anyway, our first experience went something like this. What flavor do you have? Black cherry. What flavor do you have? Mixed berry. These are so good, they don't even taste like alcohol. And now we're drunk. Anyway, in 1998 and 1999, we both graduated from college. Jill attended grad school at NYU. I moved away to Boston for grad school. Jill became a high school teacher. I stayed in Massachusetts and I worked as a middle school guidance counselor. In 2007, I moved back to New York and now we're both working in the liberal schools. Now it's gotten to the point where Jill teaches my former middle school students at the high school who also think that we're the same person. A few years ago, Jill's out in the dating world looking for Mr. Right. Eventually, she's in contact with this guy named Guido on JD. She tells me about him, and she shares that he's from Argentina. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's from JD, and he's from Argentina? To which Jill responds, they have Jews in Argentina. So anyway, they go on a few dates, and things are going well. Over the next few weeks, Jill proceeds to tell me more and more about this Guido guy. Eventually, I find out his full name, Guido Garfunkel. And I'm like, wait a minute. His name is Guido Garfunkel? That is obviously a fake name. He obviously wants to sound like a Jewish guy from New York. We're not going out with this guy. Luckily, Jill didn't listen to me, and they continued to date. My first time meeting Guido was, God bless him, when he came to see the middle school show that I directed at Liverpool. What a good sport. I loved him immediately. He was so cute, he was so adorable, he smelled so good. And thus began the tradition of me cupping Guido's face with my hands all the time. Over the next 3 months, every time I would ask Jill how things are going with Guido, she would reply with the sickening, amazing, which made me want to vomit. Guido has always been so eager to assimilate and learn about American culture and English expressions. Oftentimes we'll find ourselves discussing a TV show or a movie from our childhood, and Guido will tap his friends on the shoulder, and Guido will tap his girlfriend on the shoulder and say something like, Jilly, what is Urkel? Last year at my birthday party, we had an 80s theme, where all of my friends came dressed as their favorite 80s TV or movie character. I was Punky Brewster, we had Double Dare contestants, we decorated the house with objects from the 80s like Rubik's Cube and Speak and Spell, an Easy Bake Oven. Guido understood none of this. Hours later, at the end of the night, we hear Guido suddenly exclaim from another room, Menudo, I know them! Anyway, here we are on Jill and Guido's wedding day. Guido is awesome, and I've never seen my friend Jill so happy in all the time I've known her. Guido brings out the best in her, especially her hysterically infectious laugh. My wish for you both is that whenever we ask you for a married life is years from now, you can respond with a sickening, amazing, that makes us want to vomit,